Hello everyone, welcome along to the Chargers TV podcast. Yes, we're back in podcast form once again. You're coming to you from somewhere around in Hobart.
Studio JB.
Studio J, we're calling it JB. All right, Roll Riggs, Justin Bryan alongside you here. Of course, round two of the Mitsubishi Motors NBL 1 South competition concluded over the weekend as your Mackay Timber Hobart Chargers had a home doubleheader and had some mixed results in round two. Before we get into that, we always, of course, say hello to JB. Hello.
What's going on, Ronnie? It's, again, another makeshift episode. We are well informed and well in the progress for changes to be on the way. And there's still a little bit of work to be done for that, but there is a bit more light at the end of the tunnel, certainly this week compared to last week. But no, we are making do with what we can, and we'll get another podcast out and about for the people heading in for what's going to be the big doubleheader, first doubleheader on the road this year for the team. Yeah,
the Chargers heading off to Nunawading and Ringwood. We'll speak a little bit more about that a little bit later on here in this podcast. And, of course, you can check out a little snippet of this podcast on the Instagram page.
Yes. We'll
and Facebook, am I right?
Yeah, Instagram and Facebook. If you've joined us from those social networks to link in, thank you very much. And, of course, yes, get about the Instagram, the new collaboration feature on there, Ronnie, being able to have some other forms of media from other parts of the world directly linking in on the profile, a good way to cross-promote there with some of our brands. So head on over to the Instagram as well as the Facebook page.
Absolutely. All right, round two of the competition was in full swing, and Friday night saw your Mackay Timber Hobart Chargers take on the Dandenong Rangers, and we'll talk about the women's game first. And Hobart, well, they went down by 19 in the end to a very strong Dandenong side, 79-60. Of course, for Hobart, it was Kayla Steiner with 15 points and 13 rebounds. Great double-double by her. Sierra Walker with 13 points, 4 rebounds and 4 assists. Zoe Banks, who has been playing some good basketball currently at the moment and over in WA as well too, with the UTAS team in the UBL.
Yeah, at the time of recording, they got a double win.
Yes, they did,
the road, which was good.
Yeah, 11 points, 2 rebounds and 2 assists. Meanwhile, for the Dandenong Rangers, our
good friend Pooch.
I was going to leave her to last because there's a
lot of news there, actually. Yes, indeed.
So Imogen Rock had 13 points and 7 rebounds, who I thought was very solid. Lowridge, yeah.
Luffridge.
Oh, Luffridge, sorry, my apologies. 22 points, 2 rebounds and 3 assists. And Pooch, who was a first-round selection in the WNBA draft, JB, and I'm sure you can speak on more on that as well too.
Sure.
25 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 steals as well too. Our player of the game, who we talked to, and of course her interview, post-game interview, is up on the YouTube channel for those that might be wondering. Okay, JB.
We were probably the last media outlet to speak prior to the WNBA draft, Ronnie.
Yes, without trying to drop a hint or two to us.
Not pumping our own tyres up.
No.
There's not much room in the PSI anymore, that's for sure.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yes, no, it was great to see Nadio Pooch in action. The 12th overall pick, one of 3 Aussies selected in the WNBA draft. Isabel Boulais going to Atlanta with the 20th pick in the draft, and Jazz Shelley heading to Phoenix as well. So Pooch and Boulais will join each other there in Atlanta. And a pretty big turn of events there for Pooch, who played Friday night for Hobart, against Hobart, went and played Saturday night in the Northwest Coast, and was live and in person for the WNBA draft. Now, I am just having a look here to make sure that it was definitely her in America and not set up elsewhere for the Aussie contingent. But a massive night of hoops at Creek Road. It was great to be back at the spiritual home of the Chargers to open up the season, and it was a reasonably competitive game there for points, Ronnie. Unfortunately, though, Dandenong just applied the pressure and just picked them apart. Offensively, they were aggressive. They really drew the defense out, really accessed the baseline there, really utilised second side of the ball, forced Hobart into playing on the other end of that, a lot of isolation basketball in the sense of they were really up, they were really pressuring, really causing some defensive issues. So a really easy win there for the Dandenong women. For Hobart, a bit of a reality check, I think. For Dandenong, they're obviously going to be a really tough team, a really competitive team. They always are, always will be. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they match up throughout the year. But I think for Hobart, probably had a bit of a softer start than they really anticipated in comparison now against Launceston when we really look back on it. Of course, Launceston on that night getting belted by Waverley, and we'll get to that game a little later on. But yeah, Ronnie, I don't know about you, but it really just felt that this was the first time that Hobart were really matched up against a genuinely competitive finals level unit. They have only played the 2 games, but clearly looked like a couple of teams there, if they're going to match it for size and aggression, that Hobart certainly need to find a few more answers to some very difficult questions.
Absolutely, they do. And I feel the fact that with Hobart's current lineup at the moment, sure, they're competitive, but I feel that they are probably lacking either an extra. Well, it's one of two things, Joe. It's either that extra big, or it is another guard. Now, of course, Jada Jansen is not too far away. I was trying to lip read everything in this basketball report. It's just popped up on our newsfeed from Win News. So, look, she's not too far. Jada is not too far away, which is good news. Though the team might change a little bit over the next few weeks. Of course, just with the personnel in the lineup, JB. So right now, I think going into this weekend, though, I'm sure the women's side will be very confident going into it. But just some lapses in those 2 games that really just let them down. I think Dwayne Davies doing everything he can, and right now the players just need to kind of lift a little bit more. So giving up so many points on the defensive end is probably a key indicator of as far as this is what we need to do better. And then on the offensive end, I think they've got enough offensive production. It's just a matter of how we get that second side ball movement, get that find that nice look or that drive to the basket, rather than what we saw in a few situations over the weekend, JB, where there's isolation basketball happening.
Of course, on the other side of that, Ronnie, the men's game was played, and despite the fact that they attempted to do it in total darkness for periods of the first term, the Hobart men did get the win. 85-73 over the Rangers. Ollie Angerstein in his first game in pretty much 12 months, the healthiest he's been in over 12 months there, Ronnie. 20 points, 15 rebounds, 3 block shots, 3 massive block shots. A lot of that generated from high-octane offence there, or generating some high-octane offence in return. Viontae Daniels and Joe Chilcott as well, both finding their range. 19 points for Daniels, 17 there for Chilcott, who took a couple of charges as well, really chipped in defensively. For Dandenong, Roberts had 20 points, 8 rebounds. Tad Duffelmeyer, the victim of one of those big blocks for Ollie, went up for the dunk and was absolutely stuffed there. 19 points, 8 rebounds and 4 assists. And Mason Peatling with a solid double-double. And it's one thing that we've seen across the weekend, getting bodies on Ollie Angerstein. 10 points, 11 rebounds, 3 blocks. Of course, Ronnie, early on, we also not only with lighting issues, we also had some streaming issues that we had to work through. And we got to the very back end of that first quarter and really got onto a flow. But lack of a better term, there's one way to stop the opposition, that's turn the lights out on them, and Hobart seemed to capitalise on that moving forward and honestly played their best, got their worst basketball out of the way early and really trucked along to bring the crowd with them to a nice win. Absolutely.
Who didn't pay the power bill? Honestly.
Yeah, a lot of talk about what was causing that. Really interesting stuff, but nonetheless, they certainly, once the lights were on, the team was at their brightest.
Oh, it was. And look, the official reason is an automatic timing issue there at the netball centre. I believe there's a timer there which wasn't manually switched off. Therefore, that automatic timer was still on, and that's why the lights went out. Look, yes, I agree. Dandenong kind of got their worst basketball out of the way and really made a good fight back of it. But they really, for most of the night, couldn't contain Ollie. Ollie was just dominant down low, found his way, got those big jams going, as we've always seen. And then, you got Viontae and Joe finding their touch. They've had a little bit more time together now as a group as well, too. They've still got Terrell Brown to come in, who's, again, another few weeks away from, to my understanding. But Anthony Stewart would have been happy on the Friday night, not necessarily on a Saturday night, but would have been happy on the Friday night with the win and, able to open that. Dandenong made a run in that game, which was great. And I always wondered how Hobart could, especially with such some new pieces into that team. It's like, how can this group regather themselves, get moving and open up the game back up again. They've done a terrific job through Joe and Vionte, and then Ollie, of course, chipping in. And then the youngsters playing some good defence as well too. So they're high energy octane at times. I think Stewie did a good job of rotating and limiting his rotations where he needed to as well. So I liked how they came out on Friday night. I thought they played a great game. That was a good bounce back win after what was probably a tough loss against the Thunder. Like I say, more sessions together, which is great and ideal. And now all of a sudden here it's like, right, we're 1-1 now. So now, going into that Waverley game, which we'll talk about very shortly, it was more a matter of fact of, right, how can we readjust ourselves now going into that Waverley game? But, full credit to Dandenong. They're certainly going to be right up there. That's for sure. So to go, I think they went 1-1 on the road. I think they got the Thunder.
Yeah, I do believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So a good bounce back win for Dandenong. So certainly, any win is a tough win in the competition right now. So full credit to Hobart. Like I say, it was really good to see the Ollie of old out there after going down with gastro the week before. And he was pretty much the pivotal point of that game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, on top of that, as we mentioned there, Ronnie, it's so you don't realise how key it is to have two of your perimeter players knocking down shots and creating space. You only had to see it on Friday night. Jacob Richards also chipped in with pretty much average 15 points across the weekend. So for someone like Richo to be able to slot in comfortably to that, third, fourth role, pinch hit at 15 points a game, that's exactly what the team needs, particularly with the way he plays both ends of the floor. But someone like a Daniels who's a really creative guard, someone like a Chilcott who can really shoot the ball. Hey, I went to school with that guy. You don't realise just how much of a relief that is until all of a sudden you see it unfolding and the team building a bit of momentum.
Absolutely, and it's all about chemistry. It's all about how you can get along. Like I say, they brought in some new pieces again this year. As I said, more time they get together, the better. And all of a sudden now they found their groove on Friday night. I thought it was great. They were playing some really good basketball, and for me it was like, well, this is the Hobart team that we're looking for. It'll be interesting to see when Terrell Brown does come into the lineup. How he slots in and fits in. So, yeah.
We'll see how that one goes. Of course, Ronnie, we then made the journey on Saturday all the way over to Sorrel, over to Pembroke Park in the South East Stadium. A few hundred people in attendance on what was a good night of basketball over in the Eastern Shore. And of course, we do thank everyone in the Greater Eastern Shore community, Greater Sorrel community that got out and supported. A great vibe in there on Saturday night, Ronnie.
It was fun. It was fantastic. Great atmosphere. Great to see the kids getting around it as well too. Great to see signs and whatnot. It was fantastic. So a full credit to the greater community of Sorrel, and keep coming to the games. We've got a game in. Not this Saturday night, but next Saturday night we're back down there. So be sure we'll pump the game up next week anyway down there. But get your tickets. That's all I can say. And with the Waverley game against Hobart and the women here, of course. Well, what a start for Hobart. They went on a 12-4 run, and then of course Coach Elias Panelodius called a timeout, and everything just changed from that timeout with 5 minutes to go in that first quarter, and Waverley win by 14 points, 80-66. And for Hobart, Sierra Walker, who's starting to find her touch and her groove in this competition, 16 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists. Kayla Steindl, the usual double-double of 15 points, 15 rebounds. And once again, Zoe Banks, as I mentioned in the UBL coverage, and this is what I want to see from Zoe this year, is the consistency of her game, backing it up night after night, and she's doing a terrific job of that. 12 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. Meanwhile, for the Waverley Falcons, Carly Ernst, who can knock down shots inside and outside and kill you from there. Not literally, by the way, folks, but in a basketball, she's a tall lady, and you don't want to be on the wrong side of her. 20 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists. Amelia Todd Hunter, 16 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists. And, of course, the hometown girl that has come back to her own fan club, Shana Thompson, 10 points, 3 rebounds, 4 steals, 3 blocks, and also running into the Mitsubishi motor sign.
She did. She ran into the Mitsubishi motor sign.
She did.
She landed in the lap of everyone at courtside. But
Yes.
Shana with a really nice game on both sides of the floor, Ronnie. As you mentioned, it was a really quick start
It was.
there for Hobart. They looked like they were going to really turn that game on its head. Of course, the early story in that one was that Amelia Todd Hunter, 2 fouls in pretty much as many minutes, went to the bench. But the one thing that we noticed, and this was a common theme for all of Saturday night, Ronnie, with Coach Paleo-Yanis there, still the coolest name in our league, there's no doubt about that. Elias Paleo-Yanis, smooth operator as well. It was a next man up mentality for Waverley. It didn't matter who they were, where they came from on the bench, what their role was. They got in, they contributed. They contributed massively. It was just a one of those things, as I said, next man up mentality.
Yeah.
King Keller was another player who came on and really contributed there as well. It just really picked things apart. And, of course, then the foul game started to play a factor for Hobart. Kayla Steindl, 4 fouls in the first half, sat for well over 10 minutes, sat for the entire rest of the second quarter, which was about 6 minutes, entered back in about 4 minutes into the third. Managed to really hold herself and play right through the fourth quarter, but just the inconsistency of the lineup there, a lack of presence out there. Of course, Zoe Richards really tried to lift where she could. Sierra Walker tried to lift where she could. Zoe Banks tried to lift where she could. But at the end of the day, it was just, unfortunately probably a heavy reliance on Kayla over the weekend. I mean, averaged 15 points, 14 rebounds. I mean, that's a really solid pillar to build around. There's no doubt about it. But if the main pillar of the building isn't supporting it, you can't afford for it to crumble. You need to have some really nice support structure around there at the moment. And again, Richards really tried to chip in. Walker led scoring. Banks being consistent. There just needs to be that next step, next progression in the team. And of course, as you mentioned, competing against Ernst, 196 centimetres. Todd Hunter is a veteran of the league. Shana, of course, not necessarily hitting on the scoreboard, but just massive defensively there. Four steals, 3 blocks. You don't do that for a little bit of fun there. Really challenge some of the younger guards and younger players as well that have somewhat been Shana's peers at local level here over the last couple of years. You can just sort of see the different experiences that Shana's had and the different levels that Shana's gone to. And it was great to see her there. It was great to see family there. It was great to see some signs from them as well.
Yes.
Really good for Shana and positive for Shana, certainly from a Waverley perspective. From a Hobart standpoint, though, they've just got to find that next pillar. They've just got to find that next gear. And I suppose as well, where is the relative depth in comparison to someone like a Waverley? Everyone just seemed to get on the floor, seemed to step up, really make shots, really make plays there for the Falcons. Meanwhile, for Hobart, there were glimpses and hope. And I think they probably held on to hope a little too long. I mean, we spoke about it during the game, Ronnie. Don't know necessarily whether playing the foul game and playing the timeout game, really prolonging that game was the most positive thing that could be done in that sense there for the women. Nonetheless, a tactic that was tried to no avail, but it's going to be really interesting. Of course, we mentioned coming into this week coming up, Andy Smith and Chloe Broomhall are going to be pretty big coming back from national competition if they're on the road. Of course, Andy Smith, the defensive player of the National Carnival, as it was announced, over 10 rebounds a game, total of 28 blocks and 8 steals, really big from her, and we know what Chloe Broomhall can do at this level. So it's going to be a tough road trip, of course. They're going over to Ringwood, going to Nunawading, back-to-back nights, fly over. I know they're going to be flying Friday or Saturday, probably early Saturday, land, play, sleep, get up, play, get on a plane and come home. So it's a really short, fast turnaround. But now that you've experienced that at home, you do have to try and get it away. I suppose the real question is, Ronnie, what do they need to do when they hit the road to not only try and get a win, let alone 2 wins, but try and get the most out of themselves as a squad, not only from a starting unit, but obviously next player coming off the bench, getting in and playing their role. What do the women need to do?
Well, they need to, of course, as we mentioned, address their defensive issues. They, I think again offensively they can find what they're looking for. That's not a problem. It's more the defensive side of things where I feel like their communication and their discipline will need to lift. So it's really important on that forefront that those issues are addressed. And then secondly, how the team treat this road trip. You treat it like you need to win. Treat it like you...
Finals on the line.
Yeah, basically. I don't know if you... I know, as I kind of said, to one of my junior teams, it's only game one for the and we don't need to push a panic button at the moment. But for the women's side, it's like this is game 4 coming up. We need to start finding another level to how we can play. So for me, it's more defensive issues need to be rectified. Offensively, I think just at times we talked about the isolation issues. That needs to be fixed as well. So unless there's like a free lane to the hoop or something, then okay, no worries. But with Andy Smith and Chloe Broomhall potentially coming into the lineup, I think they'd be good additions. Now, whether they actually get on the road trip or not remains to be seen. I assume they will.
They're too good of players to not have on the road.
Correct, JB. The only issue would be from my end is, of course, they've been away.
Load management.
They haven't been with the team. Load management would be another thing. They've just come off playing, 7 crucial days of basketball representing the state, and our congratulations to them as well too, JB. They both had very impressive tournaments, as you mentioned. But I feel that with those 2 additions coming in, I think that will help. We know Chloe Broomhall had a bit of a breakout year last year in the Mitsubishi Motors NBL1 South. Andy Smith is certainly one that we need to keep our eye on now over the next few years, because I think she's just announced herself at Nationals and certainly following in her footsteps of her sister Alana.
I think those 4 letters we used with Nadia Pooch, Pooch, that's genuinely on the radar. WNBA would be a genuine goal.
Absolutely, I can definitely see her getting there. But she has to put in the hard work still. I mean, she's doing wonders right now, but she has to go up another level. So I think having that youth injection into the women's lineup will be good. Just a matter of how the reality is both Andy and Chloe have only worked with Zoe Richards for a little bit because she came in early. Sarah Walker only came in 2 weeks ago. So. Or whilst they were away or something. So, the chemistry side of things will be interesting just to see how they can quickly form that gel and form that chemistry. So, but in saying that, in the bigger picture of this road trip coming up is they just need to make sure that they really focus in, work on the 1%ers. Make sure that their turnover count is not as high as what it used to. They
can't have 16 to 20 turnovers a game.
Correct. The foul discipline needs to come into play as well too. So I think they just need to be smart on both ends of the floor.
It's of course, Ronnie. We are highlighting an 0-2 week, but a positive to come out of the weekend, as announced, was the partnership. The main partner of our women's team announced for season 2024. They are fueled up by our friends at Bulk Nutrients. Now, it was great to have them there Friday night in the box, getting some photos with the team there. Of course, you can check that out on our socials. They were there Saturday night as well, Ronnie. Great to have Bulk Nutrients not only involved at the Jack Jumper level, but now coming down to that NBL1 level and supporting our women's program.
Well, I think it's great that, if you're investing into the Jack Jumpers, you can also invest with the Hobart Chargers as well too, JB. I think Bulk Nutrients are a great company. What they do,
Tassie company.
They're state owned, which we love as well too.
Absolutely.
Of course, as you mentioned, locally run. For me, it's a matter of get involved. If you love basketball, get involved.
Absolutely.
I think Bulk again, as I was mentioning, Bulk Nutrients are a great sponsor and partner of the JJs. Now a great sponsor and a partner of the Hobart Chargers, and they provide some really good things for people that are trying to gain muscle or lose weight, or they're really into that fitness kind of protein and side of things, which you and I can I don't know if we
probably need to get into some of that, I'd say, Ronnie.
Yes,
especially with what's coming up on the 4th. We'll touch on that a little later.
Yes, absolutely. So I feel that, great to have them on, great to have bulk nutrients on board, as we mentioned. I can only commend them and say, hey, well done, thank you for coming on board. I think it's great that they're getting involved with the women's team and the men's program as well. So, hey, get on board. If you're listening to us and you want to get and you're not sponsoring but you love basketball, and
if you want to know how to get involved,
yes,
absolutely jump on board.
Get in touch. Someone from the club will be in touch with you. The more sponsors we can get, JB, the better. Absolutely, and I'm not going to sugarcoat that because we need more sponsors.
Absolutely,
that's dead set. Period. So come on board. Hell, if you want me and JB to come around and do a promo or some ad, or even bring the show to your place, we'll do it. We'll do it. I mean,
providing you're open at 7 o'clock on a Wednesday night, or can open at 7 o'clock on a Wednesday night,
yes,
for sure. But no, get involved. Great to have Bulk Nutrients on board, as we mentioned, a locally owned Tassie company supporting all levels of basketball there. Of course, Ronnie, not only was there a women's game on Saturday night, there was a men's game as well with the Falcons, and Hobart really tightening the screws and really giving it to Waverley through a half of basketball. But it was that third quarter turnaround by Waverley. The scoreboard certainly didn't reflect it in the end. It was only about a 5 or 6 point difference, but the momentum swings and what it took for Hobart to get back in that game all but iced it heading into the 4th, as Waverley got the win 93-85 for Hobart. Ollie Angerstein backing up his 20-point, 15-rebound, 3-block performance on Friday night with 23 points, 19 rebounds, and even more blocks. Another 3 to hand for him as well. Joe Chilcott and Viontae Daniels once again trying to lead the way. Jacob Richards chipping in with 14 as well. Daniels with 17 points, 6 rebounds, 2 steals. Joe Chilcott, 16 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. But it was Maurice Howard, Ronnie, and we spoke to him post-game on the broadcast as well, so you can head on over and check that out. 36 points. He would have been close to 15, 16 points in the third quarter alone. He was massive, a big reason, and clearly the best player on the floor on the evening for me. 36 points, as we mentioned, 3 rebounds, 2 steals. Crucially in that third term, really decided that game. Kernrick Drew, 13 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists as a really solid 6-man role there, along with Murnay, who was coming off a near triple-double the night before, managed to restrict him to 17 points. Sorry, that was 12 points, I should say. 12 points, 5 rebounds. 12 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals. And Ronnie, in that one there, of course, we were sort of wary of what was going to happen there, but obviously Murnay had a massive game the night before, bordering on that triple-double. You could see everyone chipping in. It was going to be, is it a question of, is it going to be a repeat of the women's game where all of a sudden Waverley just have options left, right and centre? Were the men going to be able to have, not going to have any passengers, but they're going to have plenty of contributors? It seemed that way, that it was going to be a real tough battle to the half. And then, as we mentioned, Maurice Howard there just tearing the game open. And even though Hobart had a bit of a rally and a bit of a fight back, it certainly was to no avail as Waverley 4-0 in their Tassie road trip after a 0-2 start from the men, a 2-0 rebounding week for them. Your thoughts on the men's game?
Who can stop Maurice Howard's floater? Honestly. That was
right. That one I know you're speaking about specifically late in that third term over Ollie. Fantastic to watch.
Oh, sensational! Yeah, it really was. Like, I thought Waverley did a really good job of just working their way back into the game after which was after a bit of it was a bit of an even start, really, when you think about it, JB.
Dunk for dunk, block for block.
I tell you what, Forbes dunk on Ollie has certainly raised a few eyebrows.
Particularly from the great man himself, who has put us under strict instruction, and don't worry, Ollie, we're working on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Good grief. But, of course, Ollie had a few nice dunks of his own.
And big blocks.
And some big blocks as well, too. So don't worry, big fella. We got you covered. We're just calling as we see it on the broadcast.
Yeah, we can't help but put an unbiased eye to that sort of thing, that's for sure.
Absolutely. But, I think it was when Hobart got back to, say, 6 or 4. But that seemed like a,
That was the hump they couldn't get over.
Yeah, that was right. It's like that margin seemed bigger than 4 points when it was 4 points. So Hobart just didn't have the answers that night. But I felt like Waverley played a great game, and Howard, down the stretch, just crucial with those floaters, just executed nicely. Just found that middle when he wanted it and just got one over Ollie every single time. So, for the men, they'll be licking their wounds on that one because there were opportunities in that game where I think, a few shots dropped their way. That could have swung the game. But again, Waverley have been have been a consistent team for the last few years as I've watched them. And again, credit to Coach Paliolis. Palionis.
I got you, Ronnie. Don't worry about that.
He coaches both the women's and the men's program. Someone buy him a beer because...
Buy him a brewery.
Because he's doing a great job with running both programs and having the cool and calmness under pressure as well too to get both teams over the line. Absolute credit to him, but a credit to the players for stepping up. I thought Forbes was quite crucial in that game as well too.
Became a cat and mouse rotation with him and Angerstein there in the fourth.
There was a lot of chess match battles going on because when Ollie would come off, he'd come off. When someone else could come off from the charges, vice versa. A lot of mind games with the rotation. So made Anthony Stewart think a little bit. But, full credit to Waverley. They come in, they go 2-0 on the road trip, but then the whole program goes 4-0 on the road trip. So great job by them. I think for Hobart, just some unfortunate things on the defensive end. And at times just some crucial turnovers. But when Waverley are hitting more shots than what you are, I think, and it's certainly with those floaters, it's like either you've got the touch or you don't got the touch. And Howard had that touch, and it's like, how can you stop him? Floaters are one of the toughest shots to block, let alone the hook shot in the game. So full credit to him. I mean, if those those floaters didn't drop, it might have been a different game.
Yeah, and the big thing there, like the two things there, Ronnie, for obviously touching with Coach Palionis, the culture that's been drilled into that Waverley team, both men's and women's, from their play style to player behaviour. I mean, even the amount of people that get around the team on a road trip. Yep. You had full strapping, you had full massage table, everything there for a travelling team. Rarely see that for home teams, let alone a travelling team. You can really see where that whole mindset of, might not be your night, but it could be. So be ready, be performing. I don't care whether you're the first person in the rotation. I don't care whether you're the 12th man. He's got the entire organisation drilled to you are important and you need to contribute. And number two, Ronnie, just from a Chargers standpoint, it was really evident over the weekend, and I use Forbes and Peatling as an example. It was a matter of realising, look, the main gear in this Hobart machine right now is big Ollie Angerstein.
Yes.
We need bodies to match Ollie that are just going to compete with him and try and defend him offensively. And when he is there defensively, try and draw him out of that lane or draw him away from other key defenders so we can get good looks. It's going to be interesting to see moving forward how crucial the scout is from opposition teams on the way Dandenong played, and particularly the way Waverley played, as to how they will scout Ollie going forward and compete against Ollie, and in turn, how would Anthony Stewart be looking to try and counteract that, knowing that that's clearly a tactic that's in place right now.
Yeah, so Stewie's got a bit of a... I just feel, and I'm not trying to have a dig at Stewie here, I just feel like Stewie's just gone too guard heavy with his team. And I know Stewie, loves Ollie to death and trying to plan everything around Ollie, but you really need another extra big in there. I love Zach White. I really do. I just don't think in the league now, with some of the matchups, he can't go toe-to-toe down low.
Zach is a genuine stretch four. There's no doubt about that, and he's great defensively, and he's good as that stretch four. But when you're trying to compete potentially, later on this year with Joe Lawala-Chul, and Ollie is your other one, and you talk about Forbes and you talk about Peatling, you need to be 6'9", 6'10" to be competing down low on the block now.
Yeah, you do. And I just think, we're just lacking that extra big that we're looking for. So,
and keeping that in mind, though, we still do have an import in the men's to return.
Yes, but that Terrell Brown is more of a guard.
Adds to the perimeter.
And it adds to the perimeter. So I know Stewie loves to live and die in that perimeter game and whatnot. I just feel like we're with the current team at the moment, it works wonders against Dandenong because when the shots are dropping and they're finding their way to the rim, great. But when teams are starting to scout and really make a presence of, well, we're going to really deny your big guy points here. Where does the other production come from? I know Jacob Richards can certainly give us points production. Absolutely, no doubt about it. Same with Zach White. Same with Vionte. Same with most of the youngsters that come off the bench. I just feel like that extra. If we had that extra big, I think we'd be okay. So it's just, it's a little bit frustrating at the moment, but I never rule out any Anthony Stewart coach team in games. So we know Stewie can get it done with whatever team he's got out there on the floor. There's no doubt about that. But I just think from a recruiting standpoint, he went too guard heavy. But Stewie's the one that makes those decisions, and I know Stewie will find a way to get this team going where, we'll utilise Ollie when we need to. Mind you, Ollie is a big focal point of this team. But if our guards can really shoot the ball and knock down the lights because they love to play up-tempo, we know Stewie loves up-tempo running gun style play, then if that can all go on one night, then look out, we're the hottest team in town. But when we start getting misses and we're trying to really rely on Ollie too much, that's where I feel like, we're in for a rough night if we're not careful.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. As we do say, though, Ronnie, it's not about, and Stewie says it all the time himself, it's not about how you start, it's how you finish. And if there's one thing we can say, that's a proven track record for Coach Stewart.
It is.
And that's why we do say this, that early on, that's one different thing. But how a blank canvas looks compared to when the painting's finished, a completely different picture.
Yeah, it is. And, right now this team is still trying to find its way. As we mentioned before, the team hasn't had much time together. When we spoke with Joe Chilcott, it was like we've had more time playing as in training as an entire group. That tells you something right there. So right now they're having more training together. They're obviously they're playing more games. They get to go on the road this weekend, some more camaraderie and whatnot. So which will be good. As I said, I do hope Stewie will work this out. There's no I do. Stewie will work this out. And, we're going to really see a good competitive team out on the floor. The youngsters are doing a really good job, which is, the future of the club right there. So you likes of Geordie Strasma, Jordan Walker, Archie Stewart. Who else we got there, JB?
Geordie Strathmore, Geordie Walker, Brooklyn Bruton's coming into his game as well.
Absolutely,
Harry Griffiths.
Yes, Harry's got to come back from injury at some point as well too. He's out, I think, with a back complaint.
Yep.
So right now, the future is bright. But as I say, when it comes to those main guys that Stewie recruits, he needs to make sure they're on song. So. Stewie will get this done. Don't get me wrong. I'm just conscious of. I think he went too guard heavy, and I'm sure if someone cuts up and tells Stewie that, I'm sure Stewie will come find me. So, but I have no doubt that the men's team can get it done as well too. So, in saying all that, though, of course. We are, where are we next week? We are this weekend?
We are Ringwood and Nunawading.
We are. So Nunawading is Saturday night and Ringwood is against, Ringwood is Sunday afternoon at 12 and 2, 6 and 8 in Nunawading on Saturday night. So for the men, it's, really it's a vital, it's two key model matchups here. It really is. So, right now, Ringwood are on top, and they're the form team.
Yeah, that's in the women's.
That's in the
comp.
women. Oh, right, you got the men there,
and
Joe.
the men are right there. If you scroll through with both,
they're
on top there as well. So
there we go.
There we go.
So right now, Ringwood are the premier team in the competition right now. As much as we talk about Sandringham, I feel with the Sandringham team, I believe some of the deals done with some of these players are for a number of games.
And back-end loaded, I'd assume.
Yes. So as much as we say, well, Sandringham are stacked and whatnot and all that kind of stuff, they're only there for a handful of games, folks. I don't know if they'll get them back.
Enough to qualify for specific times of the year, right?
Yes, absolutely. Knox are playing some good basketball at the moment here as well too. I'm trying. Let's find Nunawading here. Oh, hang on. Let's go back up. Oh, Knife at the moment. It's at 2-1. Hobart at 1-2. So. For me, it's really important that Hobart come out full guns blazing, really take it to Nunawading. I feel like Nunawading is not the strongest team I've seen on the floor for this season. Yet I look at Ringwood and go, well, geez, they're playing some great basketball right now, and currently they've gone win-loss, win-win. So to me, tough. Nunawading, to me, seems to be the one they need to get, and then let's try your luck against Ringwood and see how you go against the form team in the competition at the moment. But right now, when I look at that top four and you see Ringwood, Knox, Elfin, Frankston, and even Mount Gambier, along with Bendigo, you need to go Bendigo and Dandenong. So 1 through to 7 right now, those teams are really in red hot form. So for me, JB, it's crucial that both the women's and men's programs really get amongst it this weekend. Work out where we need to adjust, and then really make sure we execute on that.
Of course, for our women's team, Ronnie, Nunawading are sitting stone motherless in the women's competition. But I mean, one thing to notice here: if you are going to be cracking top 8 in the women's competition of the Mitsubishi Motors NBL 1 South, you need to be running at least 500 right now. Sandringham, Melbourne, and Waverley all 2 and 2, and that is the spread across 8th, 9th, and 10th. Of course, in the men's competition, you do have to be above 500. You've got to be running at 0.67 on this one here, winning 2 of every 3. Nunawading sitting in 9th, as you mentioned there, Ronnie. Ringwood at the top, Hobart 1 and 2, so they're still trailing behind. It's sort of hard to predict. I think for your women, you certainly don't want to be the first team to lose to Nunawading. You do not want to be that team there. Against Ringwood, that's a litmus test. I mean, Bendigo, as you mentioned there, they're always right up there as well. Mount Gambier right up there. Keilor right up there. The Rangers clearly a team that's going to compete, as we said. I mean, that women's top 6 right now, along with Knox, Diamond Valley to an extent, but certainly right through to Knox 1 through 6. That's going to be a real tug-of-war most of the season. Still a tug-of-war, as you mentioned there, right through the first 6 seedings as well in the men. So, and you don't want to go early. I mean, for the women's, I'd be certainly looking at wanting to bounce back at being 1 and 1. You don't want to be that team that loses to Nunawading first. Honestly, Ringwood are undefeated. They might be a side that goes undefeated. We've seen it happen in the NBL 1 South before. It wouldn't be a great loss. It would be an understandable or accepting loss. And I think in the men, it's one of those ones there where you want to get yourself back on track to 500 against Nunawading. And if you're taking on Ringwood, try and throw a cat amongst the pigeons there. But, realistically, I think we could expect both sides to be 1 and 1, and then they'll be coming home for another double header in a couple of weeks' time, 26th and 27th. I don't know, Ronnie, do you see anything beyond a 500 there? I mean, if you're travelling, are you expecting 500, or are you just wanting to try and put pieces together?
I think you're trying to put pieces together, but also, too, I think you're trying to split it 1 and 1. Ideally 2 and 0. I mean, if you
of course,
ideally, but realistically, I feel like both teams will go 1 and 1 this weekend, which kind of sets up a big one coming up in next week with Casey and Ballarat coming into town. So, for me, JB, it's realistically 1 and 1, but. If both teams go 0-2, there might be some issues that might need to be addressed. So, look, I'm keen to see both games. I'm keen to watch and see how they go by the NBL 1 website or the NBL 1 app, because I've got my NBL 1 Plus account to log into.
Absolutely. We'll be keeping socials buzzing, no doubt, over the weekend.
Yes. I wonder how we'll do that. Yeah.
We'll find a way.
We will find a way, JB. And of course, you speak of social media, or you can follow us on our social media because there's plenty happening.
There's plenty of it about, for sure.
You're not wrong. You can give us a like on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter. You can follow us on Instagram, and you can subscribe to the YouTube channel as well too. So you can keep up to date with all the goings on here for your Mackay Timber Hobart Chargers.
That'll pretty much wrap us up here from the home studio here, Ronnie. Of course, we're makeshifting as we can go. And, of course, we do talk about different changes that are happening that we've spoken about, Ronnie. We do have different announcements we're in the process of getting organised and wanting to make, different things we're planning and working on. A big shout-out to everyone behind the scenes. We spoke about Russell coming on board. We've spoken about Josh coming on board. We've spoken about Mark coming on board. We're going to have more information when we're able to get some more clarity around that where we can, but we can let you know that, there is just a little bit going on behind the scenes as far as wanting to get another step up, I'd say, would be the best way for the club, Ronnie. And it's a little bit of work at the moment, but we are pushing through where we can, and we are hoping to have a bit more clarity as the season goes on. Trust me, things are becoming a bit clearer despite how murky the waters seem. It's a work in progress, but I think we not speaking out of school here when we say, Ronnie, that there's plenty of positive progress being made with that one.
There is, and for us, we will be back on camera soon, folks. Don't worry. I mean, we're just working on that as we speak. We feel like podcast form at the moment is a good thing for us at this point in time, but we're certainly not shying away from the camera.
Oh, God, bit of me time never hurt anybody.
That's right, JB. So, throughout the season, we will be back on camera very soon. But yes, there are some good changes within the board. I like how the board are trying to approach this. I think right now it is a bit of a slow process, but it has to be a slow process.
Until you win the race.
Yeah, so right now things are looking good from a board perspective, and I can tell you that, right now things are looking on the up, and there's some good things coming along with us being back on camera very soon indeed.
Yes, it should be good, Ronnie. That'll, I'll tell you what, we've run a bit longer than we expected,
yes.
But we had a lot to cover.
Yes, we did.
And that'll pretty much do us for our for another episode of the podcast.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you for tuning in. I do. Yeah, we apologise for going overboard, but always seems to be the case sometimes. I mean,
just when we think, we'll keep it nice and condensed, it doesn't happen.
No,
and
then never happens.
Then when we try and draw it out, it's a short and sweet, simple process. We never really go into a big plan, Ronnie, besides a review and a preview. But time sometimes isn't of the essence with us on this one.
No, certainly not. And time will not be the essence, of course, next week when we come around to recording it once again. Do tune in by the NBL1 website or the NBL1 app, as we mentioned. Sign up to an NBL1 Plus account. That's how you can access all the live streams. We'll have that plugged on our social media throughout the weekend. They're in Nunawading on Saturday night. They're in Ringwood on Sunday afternoon. So be sure to tune in, and we'll have all the results, of course, and the fallout from the road trip in next week's podcast. And good luck to the Chargers. That's all we can say. And that will pretty much wrap us up here from Studio J. On behalf of Justin Bryan, I'm Ron Riggs, and we'll see you next week.